Hey, you know what? I think we are live. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor here for the Xbox 2 with my buddy, the one and only Jess Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, man?
Hi. Um, I'm good. I'm really wish I had alcohol right now, but I don't have any. But
You don't have any alcohol? You usually have that stuff like
I've
squirreled away.
I've got some like Bailey's, but it's old and it's because it's got milk and cream in. I'm not sure if it's like gone off or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't risk it. I need to find out if Bailey's goes off. But yes, that's
We-
nothing to do with Xbox. But there you go.
I know we haven't done an actual proper episode in like 3 weeks because 2 weeks ago we were cut short due to my basement and people coming over to clean the carpeting. And then last week we kind of I just had a podcast with people on there and you joined. So we haven't actually done an Xbox 2 episode in a couple weeks now.
This is true. This is true. But it's been an exciting couple of weeks,
It
hasn't it?
has been. It has been. I'm getting tingly just thinking about all the stuff that happened recently. You know?
I don't think I'd say we should recap, but probably everyone watching this already knows what happened.
You think so? Well, you know what? Let's get some of those smaller news before we delve into the bigger stuff. It came out today that Microsoft is going to be offering self refunds on Xbox Live. I think that is a super pro consumer move, and it's quite amazing actually that they're the first console manufacturer to offer self refunds.
Indeed,
Um,
it was a very popular move on Steam, and it's interesting that their refund policy is exactly the same as Steam's. Like you have to refund within 2 weeks, and you have to have played less than 2 hours worth of apps or games. That's exactly the same as Steam's policy. And now uh, PlayStation doesn't offer that, I believe. So that, but I expect it won't be long until PlayStation follows suit. But this is really important because everything's going digital now, and we need a way to refund those bad games. Like, I don't know, think of a bad game quickly.
mm, the Halo Storm just he asked me a question. It's a serious question. Do you think after recent video that there's a real media bias against Microsoft? Hold on to that thought because we will be talking about N4G and that image and stuff. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, dude, like you said, everything's moving digital, right? I just saw today Z Huge posted this EA's profit. It was like their revenue, and back in like '06 or '07, their digital revenue was 17% or whatever. And like right now, they posted like their digital revenue or whatever is like 60%, or maybe it's their total revenue or whatever. But like the jump is quite startling, right? Everything's moving to digital,
Damn.
just like video has moved to streaming. So there needed to be some refund policy in place because more and more people are buying digital games. And for the longest time, everything's always been, no refunds, right? Don't even ask. Even though you could call Microsoft and maybe get like one refund a year, they depending on who you talk to, you could get a refund. But then
Yeah,
Steam,
it's a bit hit and miss. I've got a few refunds from Microsoft. I bought Dragon Age Inquisition Game of the Year edition one year, and then the next day it went on sale for like 75% off. And I was so annoyed. I was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. So I went to Xbox support and I was like, come on, let me refund this so I can buy it for the cheaper price.
yeah.
Luckily, they
So,
went for it. But
so it's great. I mean, some people, the achievement whores, they'll take advantage of this because there are a few games out there that you can beat in under 2 hours. So I
yeah,
can
but
see a lot of those type of people.
you see, Rand,
You know,
it does say in the list of conditions that Microsoft reserves the right to block
ooh,
you from Xbox Live if they think you are abusing the system. So they're going to have some kind of algorithm and they're going to measure, they're going to like see, okay, this guy has refunded 10 games this month. He's abusing the system and he's achievement whoring. We're going to ban him. So it's not going to be used as a demo, as a free demo for like pervasively across the system. There's going to be some algorithm in there to stop abuse. And Microsoft have thought this through. This isn't just like a knee-jerk reaction thing. So I wouldn't expect to see much people using it that way. To be quite honest. every lost round. I think Rand always does this. He always does this. He goes and leaves me alone, and then I have to talk to myself, just like my teenage years. God. Well, I'm going to talk to the chat if Rand isn't
You
here.
know, this always happens. This always happens. Real life always intrudes. When you do it's like nobody bothers you for the hours before you do it, but as soon as you do something like this, boom, someone bothers you. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So what were you
Well,
saying? I didn't hear.
I,
I didn't get to hear it.
I basically said that there's an algorithm in place to stop people abusing this system. So if they see that you've refunded loads of games and you're only doing it for the achievements, you'll get banned from Xbox Live. It says that at the bottom. So
Well,
there are
then
terms and
that is
conditions.
a way to do it. That, or they could, there's things they could do, but it's a positive consumer thing, and I wonder if that puts pressure on Sony and Microsoft to adopt a similar policy, because this would be good for gamers across the board to have
Yeah.
a
Sony
policy like
Sony will
this.
adopt this, and it's not a matter of not wanting to do it. It's just a matter of adapting your systems to support it. So Sony will implement this as soon as possible, and I suppose Microsoft implementing it will expedite that process.
Right. All right. Well, you know what? Also, the gamer picks, custom gamer picks too. That was teased by Major Nelson. Jez, I have a question for you, buddy. Are we going to see a lot of dicks? Is this what it's going to be? Are we just going to get like Xbox Live dicks all over the place?
Well, I mean, we had this problem with was it the first Black Ops that let you have your own little avatar in Black Ops?
Yeah, I think that. I don't know if it was the first, but yeah.
I am guilty of doing this. I actually used a tree and turned it pink for the veins, and no, I am one of those people. I'm sorry, guys. But
So
yeah,
you don't think you think they're going to run into any issues with people with the custom gamer picks and everything? I mean, I can only imagine the things people will put, and I don't want to see any of it. I don't want to see any of it at all.
Well, the thing is, it's no different to people sending dodgy messages, And if you see something really dodgy on there, just report them, and they'll probably get banned. If they do it twice, they'll get banned. I had a guy DM me a few weeks ago asking how he could get unbanned from Xbox Live, and I said, "Well, what did you do to get banned?" And he said, "Oh, well, I was temporarily banned 6 times for swearing at people." And I said, "Well, didn't you get the message the first time you were banned?" So Microsoft like permabanned him from Xbox Live, and they'll do the same thing here. If people abuse the picture system, they get permabanned. But the thing is, your gamer tag is it's connected to everything now. So it's connected to your Skype and your Microsoft account. So if you put like a dick pic on your Xbox account, it's also gonna come up on the Windows 10 login screen.
Jeez.
So there is that whole issue. So
I can't wait to put my Randall soft serve picture as my gamer pick. That's gonna be
I don't know what I'm
sweet.
gonna put as my gamer pick. I don't know yet.
You don't. What about a picture, a bottle of rum or some vodka or something?
Man, I'm getting a reputation for being an alcoholic, man. Maybe alcoholic. I don't know. I haven't
You
had
don't
any
know.
beers for like. I haven't had any for like at least 2 weeks.
At least 2 weeks. Well, we got. I mean, like I said, two really cool things: digital refunds and the custom gamer picks, which a lot of people said never would happen, and it's here. I believe they're both in preview, or the custom gamer picks is only and a take home right now at Microsoft, but I'm pretty sure it'll be in the next push out to the update to the alpha ring. Well, I believe self refunds are available right now in the alpha ring.
You can get a custom gamer pick right now.
You
You could actually get one weeks ago by doing a PHP on the website.
Well, yeah, you could have done it. There was ways to do it 2 years ago, but I had heard Microsoft was banning people for doing that. So whatever. Yeah, I'll just wait for the legit means so people on Xbox Live can see the soft serve in its full glory. I still get messages about like the story behind the soft serve, but you know what?
I don't know what the story behind. What's Al Thor? What is that from? Rand Al Thor.
What is Rand Al Thor? All right. We'll do a little gamer tech. So when So I didn't want Xbox Live back in 2004, right? I thought online was stupid. My brother, my younger brother, he honestly thought it was the future, and he's like, I want to play against people online. So I had an Xbox, but I didn't have Xbox Live. So he went out and bought Xbox Live, and when he was creating the gamer tag, he was like, "What should the gamer tag be?" And I was like, Randall Thor, but it was already taken. So then I was like, just throw. Then he actually threw 19 at the end because his birthday is like the 19th of a certain month. Um, so Randall Thor is a popular. He's the main character of a series of fantasy novels that I adored back in like high school. It's called The Wheel of Time. It's kind of similar to Game of Thrones. So Randall Thor is the most powerful person in that world. He's a badass. He kills people. He's fucking married to 3 bitches and bangs them all the time. So Randall Thor seemed appropriate for myself. That's why I named him um, Randall Thor. So why'd you name yourself? Why'd you name yourself Jez? Jez.
Well, once upon a time, I was born. My parents gave me a name, and the rest was history.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's not as interesting as your story.
it's not, but you know.
No. Um, my gamer tags have always had my name in it. It used to be JZLOL. That was my gamer tag for ages. uh, yeah. And then
All right.
Jez, and then a nice chap at Microsoft let me have Jez. So
Ooh. Yeah, so I used to read a lot of those fantasy novels. So I knew Game of Thrones was going to be big before it ever came to HBO because I had read the books. So I named myself Randall Thor. So a little back history, but let's get into Scorpio, Jez. Oh, Scorpio. Oh, Scorpio. A lot of stuff to
good
talk
old
about
Scorpio,
here. So
indeed.
I'm sure everybody knows by now. Uh,
All my
Digital
leaks were
Foundry.
right.
Well,
Yay!
you sure do love your leaks, but yeah, Jez's leaks are right. But it was
I
so
even got the
much.
LCD front panel right on
But
the
it was
dev.
so much more. But I mean, there was so much information that
Yeah,
they dished out over the course of the few days, and people were taking it in. There's a lot of people excited. Of course, there's also a lot of people downplaying the system, which we'll talk about later. But give me your first thoughts. I know we kind of talked about it on the podcast we did last week, the impromptu one. But what does Scorpio mean to you? What do you think about it in general?
well, the thing is, I'm invested in the Microsoft ecosystem, so um, we talked about ecosystems as well last week and being locked into the ecosystem. I consider myself to be locked into the Xbox ecosystem. I can't lie; it's my job to write about Xbox, so I can't really frame the argument in the same way that I used to when I was younger.
Uh oh. Uh oh. Well, okay. So Jez is gone. So yeah, I guess I'll talk about what I felt about Scorpio. Uh, I'm excited for Scorpio, guys. I really am. Um, I like Jez. I would assume I think I'm a little bit more um, invested into the ecosystem than Jez is. I mean, come on, my gamer score. I own like 700 games on the Xbox One, so a lot of my digital purposes, a lot of my digital history is there. Like, I own a lot of stuff, and of course, all the friends that I've made since 2004 when I first got the system, they're all there. Like every single one of them is is on the system. So while I in 2013 I was thinking of jumping ship, but I wasn't really going to jump ship unless all my friends jump ship. I'm not going to get a PlayStation 4 because honestly, to me, my friends and the fun we have playing games together and party chats and stuff is more important than playing on a game that, um, basically has better resolution, so to speak, right? Okay, I'm just making sure you guys can hear me because, all right. So my thoughts on Scorpio is like, good. This is a system Microsoft should have made back in 2013. Obviously, it wouldn't have been as powerful, but this is the system where they're like, you know what, we heard you guys. We've seen the Digital Foundry articles. All the games run worse on Xbox. We want to fix that, right? And they have. And I'm excited because not because of the resolution. Like the 4K stuff is cool, and I do have a 4K TV, and I will own both. I will purchase a PS4 when it gets down to $200. That's the price I set to myself. So I know people in chat and are asking me that. I will get a PS4 when it's $200. I almost bought it a couple weeks ago. But back to the Scorpio, I I like what it's doing for my current gaming and my backlog. The idea that it's going to help games achieve a better resolution, but more importantly to me, is that it's going to smooth out frame rates. Whether it's taking those games that have drops to 25 back up to 30, that is really good because frame rates give me like frame rate fluctuations give me headaches. Or if it's got a variable frame rate where it's somewhere between 60 to 30 or whatever, it'll be locked at 60. That's important. That's a tangible benefit, not only to the games in the past, but also the games going forward. And one of the other features that I really liked from the PS4 Pro, in fact, the feature I was most jealous about was that the performance mode and the resolution mode. So a dev can make a game, and if you want to run it at 4K 30, you can. But if you want to run it at 1080p 60, you can. I was so jealous of that mode on the PS4 Pro. I remember talking to my buddies at Xbox and being like, please make sure the Scorpio has that mode, because that is such a good consumer move, being able to play in one of those two things. Because normally, if it's an action heavy game, I'm going to choose 60 frames per second, because frame rate matters more to me than resolution. Jazz, where you at, man? Get in here. Anyways, yeah, and then the whole downsampling thing. So if you have a 1080p TV, that it's still worth it to you to get a system. Unlike on the PS4, where it doesn't downsample, or it's called super sampling. So people with the 1080p TV will feel like they're actually getting something out of the system, which is great. Some of the stuff, I understand I'm different than a lot of people. Like the 360 back compat stuff, I don't care about 360 backwards compatible. Like yesterday when Black Ops 2 went back compat, I was just like, who cares?
Oh my
Who
god!
cares about Black Ops 2? You left me, Jazz. You left me.
I thought you left me. I didn't know I got disconnected.
You left me, Jazz.
It sucks, man. It sucks. Okay, what was the last thing I said? I had an epic monologue talking to myself.
I don't know. What was the last thing you said? I was listening.
You asked me for my take on Scorpio, and then
and you said you barely said anything. You said like 2 sentences and you were gone.
I had this epic monologue, man. It was probably the best thing I ever said, and no one will ever hear it.
Well, just redo it. Just
it's like that.
Just start talking right now.
No, I can't do that again. It'll have to be a tribute.
Yes. Come on, you can do it again, Jazz.
Right, so
people want to know. What do you think about Scorpio?
I basically said I knew the specs, and so the hype had been drained out for me about the specs beforehand. So I was just like, yeah, okay, they've nailed the specs down. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be totally epic and the most powerful console in a tiny little device, and well, comparatively tiny. And it's like the engineering feat they pulled off is just amazing, incredible, and you cannot downplay that. No matter how much people want to try and downplay Scorpio, it's an engineering marvel, right? And but the thing is, and I've always said this, that I'm satisfied with the Xbox's lineup, but if they really want to win that narrative about games, which is coming up more and more in the press, they really need to show that they've got the ambition, the budget, the right partners, the right titles, and the right everything. And they really need to show that they've got a really solid game plan for games, not just in 2017, but 2018, and maybe even beyond that. But they've got this problem now where they can't announce games early in case everything goes like Scalebound again. So it's like, do they announce early and take a risk, or do they play their cards close to their chest and just not and just give us what's coming up for definite this year? Because I think that's going to be a problem, you know. And it's weird because I had tons of information about Scorpio, man. I had tons of information about Scorpio from all different sources all over the place. But I haven't heard anything about Microsoft Studios games, man. It's like Microsoft Studios is on full-blown military lockdown. Despite my best efforts, I just can't get any leaks from what Microsoft are planning on the games front. So that's a good thing in a way because it will be exciting for me when it is revealed and stuff. And
yeah, right. You're gonna be trying to dig up leaks for that stuff. You're gonna ruin it not only for yourself, but you're gonna ruin it for everybody else.
No. I'm not gonna leak. I swear, if Microsoft have some amazing game announcements, I swear to God, I wouldn't leak it. I'd leave it for Microsoft to announce because I always remember, man, when they announced Killer Instinct at E3. Was it 2013? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it? Yeah.
The first one, yeah. I think it was
Yeah,
2013.
yeah, it was 2013.
Yeah, when they announced Killer Instinct 2013, it was such an amazing moment for me. And like you've probably seen that video of Maximilian, the Killer Instinct players, watching it live on
Maximilian,
YouTube.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like for me, it was like that as well. You know, it was like I played that game as a kid. It was just so much nostalgia, and I would hate to take that moment away from people by leaking it. So I wouldn't leak anything like that about Microsoft because it's just not fair, you know. It's just not fair because I haven't put any work in there. It's different when it's hardware because it's like, you know, who cares? But you get really attached to games and stuff. So there's an emotional investment there, and sometimes I wonder how much Microsoft realized that about the emotional investment people have to these franchises and games because, you know, the way that they cut Fable Legends down, like, you know, Lionhead down to nothing, and then shelved the Fable IP, and they tried to turn it into this free to play game nobody wanted, you know, and it just made me wonder, like, well, the thing is, this is the old Microsoft, right? Before Phil, so it made me wonder, like, just how much Microsoft values the emotional aspects of their franchise and stuff. But I think Phil understands that at least better than Matrick did. So
Matrick and emotional don't belong together in the same sentence.
yeah, I mean, he went to work for the Candy Crush guys, right?
No, he went to work for another company, and that company basically went bankrupt too. So he's 2 for 2 at trying to destroy companies. He went to the Farmville people.
No, that's King. That's Candy Crush, isn't it?
No.
Yeah.
King's not
No?
Candy. King is Candy Crush, but they don't own Farmville. He went to Farmville. Zigna.
Oh,
Zignia.
Zynga, yeah. They're all the same, man.
They're all the same.
They
But
make these shallow games.
it's like, but the problem is, like, none of this exists in a vacuum, right? So Xbox fans see what Sony's doing, and they see Sony as basically Sony's done the shotgun approach, where they're literally going to show you everything they have for the next 3 years, right? So even if one of their games isn't good, even if, say, Days Gone is shit, doesn't matter because all their fan base can basically point to Death Stranding or Last of Us 2. It doesn't matter if the current landscape is bad because it will be better down in the future. And that doesn't exist right now on Xbox's side.
They can't even do that either because if, say, for example, they did announce Fable 4 with a CGI trailer that was amazing, like Death Stranding, people are going to be like, oh, is that actually going to launch? Is that actually going to come out? Because they've created this reputation for canceling things now, and even though, like, the wider audience might not have absorbed that, definitely in the hardcore crowd and the people that Microsoft are trying to convince to come over to the Xbox ecosystem, that's all they're going to say. All they're going to say is, oh, it's going to be another Scalburn, you know.
Well, yeah, they say that, but
it's difficult for Microsoft
to
do.
Microsoft's like, look, Scorpio, which, we were talking about it. It's a great piece of tech. The rumors are that it's smaller than Xbox One S, but even way more powerful, which is a huge technological feat. Even though the CPU is still Jaguar, but a highly evolved Jaguar, and all. I mean, I don't understand most of the specs. All I know is I'm going to get games that run better on the system.
The numbers are
Yeah, it's
bigger,
numbers,
better.
but obviously, like, I'm not going to pretend to know what any of that like spec stuff is because I just don't. I'm not going to try to pull the wool over people's eyes and be like, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. But what I know is we're going to get is the system's going to make our games better, make our backlogs better, and the games going in the future will have, they could have performance mode, resolution mode. There'll be 4K if you need a 4K, but 1080p TV people aren't left behind because the system downsamples it, so it's even a better picture with 1080p. And then that whole stuff with FreeSync yesterday,
Oh
FreeSync
god,
and
yeah.
the next generation HDI. So it seems like Microsoft has really future-proofed Scorpio in a way that Xbox One and even PS4 weren't. And these
And
like
this is
like
all
look,
this without mentioning VR and holographic, you know. So like
yeah,
if you've got this, it's future proofed in almost every aspect. And I think this is something that people haven't really touched upon is just how future proof this thing is. It's so future proof that they haven't even got the VR stuff ready yet.
right.
So
And you know that FreeSync and that next time, like those basically are features that only hardcore gamers would care about. I mean, basically only can use the FreeSync stuff on a monitor right now. So
yeah,
those are just features for the hardcore gamers. So essentially, everybody in chat, just think this: Microsoft has basically built a system for hardcore gamers. This
well,
isn't
this is the
this
thing
isn't
about FreeSync.
2013 where Microsoft built a system for people who like TV and wanted to have a relationship with TV and stuff. Microsoft has now gone back to their roots, and they felt bad that they kind of abandoned the core, and it screwed them over. And here they are now, and they built this awesome system, and it has features that only hardcore gamers would care about. So it's refreshing to see and know that Microsoft is like, we're trying to take back the core of our audience, the people who were with us from the beginning, because they felt they kind of abandoned that. And that's one of the things, very first things I said when I met Phil back in 2015 and we were playing Halo together. He asked me what I thought of the 2013 reveal. And I told him straight up, I felt you abandoned me. I felt you abandon
Yeah, I
the
remember
core
you telling me.
gamer. I like and he's like, I appreciate your honesty. Like, we talked about that. Maybe that's one of the reasons, I get to talk. Maybe Phil values my opinion, but I was like, Phil, I felt like you abandoned all of us. And he was like, well, I appreciate, your opinion and giving it to me. But it looks like with this system, Microsoft is like, we heard you loud and clear, and we're going to make a system for you. And that's great. The system sounds amazing. I am excited for it. I don't know why there's people downplaying it all over the place. Who cares if it's not better than a high-end PC? Who cares if it can or can't do what a 1080i or 1080 Ti, whatever the fuck that thing is, or who cares? Who cares? People get like, I don't know, like they get so bent out of shape out of this shit. What matters is the system's going to run games better. Your backlog's going to be better. Games going in the future are going to look better. Microsoft is back on the side of gamers. Now, of course, this leads to the other discussion, which we were just talking about, is games. And like Jez says, I don't know anything about any games. Jez doesn't know anything about any games. Nobody knows anything about any games.
It's on lockdown, man. It's on total
Yeah.
lockdown. It's
So
like sometimes I could at least get hints, but I can't even get hints on this. It's crazy and it's driving me nuts. If there's anyone from Microsoft listening to this, just tell me things, man. I won't leak it. I just want to know. But but it's it makes me hopeful that it's on lockdown because it is amazing. And when Microsoft really has amazing things, they tend to like really tried really hard to keep them under lock and key. Like nobody really knew about the Surface Book until the last minute. Nobody knew about HoloLens until the last minute. And then, the Surface Phone, foldable phone thing, we've just got a bunch of patents right now. It's like when they are making something special, it's on like total lockdown. So I can only hope that somewhere in the bowels of Microsoft Studios, they are making that sort of, deep, ambitious, big budget title that could compete with the likes of The Last of Us, maybe, and stuff like that. Because if they're not, it's going to be a problem. And I don't think they can keep relying on Halo and Gears 1-2 punch every few years to sell this thing, and not without like significant innovations. Because I kind of honestly, like, I played Fable, I played Halo 5, and I just felt like the industry's moved on from this. And even though I really, really enjoyed Gears 4, and you know, I love it as a Gears game, I still couldn't help but think that the industry has just moved on from this. And like Gears 4 came out just a few months ago, but like if you compare the Horde mode of Gears 4 and the Horde mode of Mass Effect Andromeda, you know, Mass Effect Andromeda has loot, it has tons of classes, tons of skills, way more monsters to fight. You know, it's like it's basically Horde mode, but better in almost every way, except for the gore, I suppose. So I do feel like Microsoft Studios really needs to like push harder, you know, to innovate, because their games just haven't really innovated a great deal, I don't feel.
Yeah. Well, you know, I wanted to give a shout out to the 255 people watching right now. Me and Jez really appreciate it. Seems like people like the Xbox too, Jez.
Yeah,
Seems like
I really
they like
appreciate it,
us.
man.
I like
Um,
doing it.
I really like doing
So
it as well. You're a pretty cool guy when you don't leave me
I
alone.
mean, I guess I'm all right. I'm not going to e-beg. I'm not going to beg for likes, but if you want to hit the like button and subscribe, then do so at your leisure. But yeah, the games thing. You know, I mentioned in my videos that Jason Schreier and Ben Kuchera, there was a lot of people tweeting right after the Scorpio event that, where are the games, Microsoft? Where are the
He blocked
games?
me. That
You know?
Jason guy from
Yeah,
Kentucky.
he
I
blocked a
never
lot of
spoke to him in my life. I've
he
never
blocked a
spoken
lot of
to him ever,
people.
and he blocked me. It's like, why? So funny. These game journalists, man, they're so sensitive.
Look, and I know they were jealous that Digital Foundry got the scoop on them. And look, everybody has a preference. I like Xbox. Everybody knows that. I don't hate Sony and I don't hate Nintendo. Jez likes Xbox. I don't think you hate Nintendo or Sony and Nintendo. But there are a lot of people out there
Yeah.
in the in the media industry, like, you know, hey, uh, it's clear to me that that Jason Schreier doesn't care for Microsoft and Ben Kuchera doesn't care for Microsoft, which is fine. You're like, just don't be overly hateful. However, with that said,
The thing
when
is,
you immediately,
they write about both platforms, though. They have,
I know
for me, they have an obligation to, you know, at
what
least
be
be
objective.
journalists. Not.
Jason Schreier says objectivity is for losers. He says he's never claimed to be objective, and nobody at
It's
Kotaku will
awful,
ever
man.
be
If
objective.
if you are
I
a
know.
game journalist, if you are a games journalist, you have to be objective. You know. And I say this as someone who only writes about Xbox. So when you come to Windows Central, you know you're gonna get Xbox only. You're gonna get everything through the perspective of an Xbox enthusiast, which means that I only write about Sony when it's necessary to compare it to Xbox. But if you're a game journalist working at Polygon and stuff, where you are basically selling the idea of which platform to switch to or whatever, then you should have at least some degree of objectivity, I would say. Personally,
Right.
that's what I think. If I was working for one of these sites
Well, yeah. I mean,
and I
so
was
you would
covering
think
both,
so. I mean,
I try and see the I try and see the plus and negatives in both, man. But
I
you
try to
should be
be
glad I don't
objective as
write about
possible.
Nintendo. You should be
I try to
glad.
be as objective as possible about stuff. And look, yeah, Microsoft's game situation, their exclusive game situation, is up in the air right now because we only know the 3 games that are coming out at the end of the year. We don't know anything going past that. So people wonder. It's like, hey, you have this beautiful system, this amazing system in Scorpio, and besides multiplats, what do you have to offer on it? And it's a valid question. However, I took
They
issue
couldn't
with
give Microsoft one day.
right.
Of
That's the
happiness.
issue I took with it. It was like immediately Jason Schreier, 10 minutes after the event, tweets that out. Ben Kuchera immediately, an hour after, he writes an article that you could have written last year at E3 when they announced Project Scorpio. So I took umbrage with that. I made a video about it.
Umbrage.
Umbrage, yeah, you know,
What's that mean?
umbrage. Look it up. Look it up.
What's umbrage mean?
Yeah,
Chat. What does umbrage mean?
umbrage means exactly what you think it means.
You just make up words
I don't
sometimes. I
make up
swear to God.
nothing. I don't make. I'm not
I'm the
a
professional writer in this chat, right? Umbrage
okay.
is not a word.
Umbrage is a word. Trust me. I use it quite a bit.
Ain't that someone from Harry Potter?
No, that's Dolores. Whatever. But look, you know what? Let's type that into Google. We're gonna do a little search right here.
Randall
Let's see.
College.
Umbrage. Well, except I'm not taking any like English courses, so let's go to Google. Let's type in umbrage. Hmm, maybe I'm spelling it wrong, or did I say it wrong? Oh, here we go. Umbridge. Here we go. From
Dolores Umbridge, Harry Potter wiki.
no. Here we go. It's right here from dictionary.com. Offense, annoyance, displeasure, to feel umbrage at a social snub, to give umbrage to someone, to take umbrage at someone's rudeness. Boom, Jazz. Boom. Right
Okay.
there.
Okay.
There you go. You use that, squirrel it away, use it in one of your articles going forward.
Okay. Okay. I
Okay,
will.
okay.
I'm gonna in my next article. I will use the word Umbridge.
Good. And it'll be our little
Good.
joke. Everybody here will know.
Everyone
Um,
will know.
so yeah, I mean, like the whole game situation. So that's why I took umbrage with the fact that they did all that stuff. And I said, you know what? Look, if Microsoft doesn't bring the games to E3, like they say they're going to, and like we all think they will, I'll be the first one out there making videos saying, you blew it. You absolutely blew it, because you cannot go to this year's E3 with the most powerful console ever, Scorpio, and just be like, hey guys, we got Halo 6 for you. And that's it. You can't do that, because people will eat you alive, and I will eat you alive. That's just me though. And did Jez leave, or I
I'm
see
back.
two? Okay, you're back. Good.
Hangout sucks. Google sucks.
Right.
Carry
I
on.
was basically saying that that if you show up to E3 and don't deliver the games, then you will get crucified. Like if you literally just show up with Halo 6 and that's it.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not even a case of us hating on it. It's a case of knowing that other people are going to hate on it. You know, I physically don't have enough time to play all the games that Microsoft are releasing right now. They're releasing so many great games. I think Xbox is killing it. I just don't have time for all these games. But for people
Mm-hmm.
who stick to the AAAs, and they want these big blockbuster games that are going to make other people envious, like, my system's got this, blah blah blah. And some of it is fanboy wars, some of it is a vocal minority, and honestly, it's the multiplats which really sell systems, because they don't have the overheads that Sony and Xbox do, so they can go all out on games, and have these ridiculous budgets and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about how everyone else interprets it. So if Scorpio doesn't bring the games, if it doesn't bring the comparison, they're going to have to do comparisons on stage. They're going to say, look, this is this game running Scorpio, this is this game running on PS4 Pro. They're going to have to be really harsh about it if they really want
Mm-hmm.
to sell it, if they
Yeah,
don't have the game.
right. And you mentioned the multiplat, so that's kind of the other part I wanted to talk about, was the 30-second ad for Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out.
Oh.
And it's Sony branded, where it says at the end, like, the force is strong with PlayStation. And we already know they have the deal with Destiny 2, they have the deal with Red Dead Redemption 2, they have the deal with Call of Duty World War 2, and now we know, which I already knew beforehand, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is with Sony. So 4 of the biggest games of the year. Red Dead 2, probably the biggest game of the year. Call of Duty will definitely probably be the second. Destiny 2 will probably be the third. Star Wars Battlefront will probably be the fourth. So 4 of the biggest games of the year, and all of them.
Destiny.
You think Battlefront 2 will be bigger than Destiny?
Definitely.
Well, either way, whatever order they're in, they're 4 of the biggest games for holiday. They help move systems, and all of them will be marketed with Sony, and none of those games will be able to talk about how they're better on Scorpio. Microsoft won't be able to talk about any of them. Now, I guess
that's the thing you see. That's the thing you see, because I've got information that says otherwise.
Well,
I've
your
got
information is
my
wrong.
information. Well, I don't think it is, because it came from the same place as the rest of the leaks that I got that was right. So
No,
my
I mean, all that
information
is,
says that.
look, you saw the ad yourself. I mean, it's Sony marketed, branded. They're not going to.
Yeah, but not every deal's like Destiny, man. Not every deal's like Destiny. Yeah,
See,
Microsoft might not be able to talk about Destiny, but they sure as hell are going to be able to talk about Battlefront 2, because DICE are.
I don't think so, because
I do.
I don't think so. I think, from what I understand, Sony has to deal with Disney directly. They don't deal with the EA on this, which is why Microsoft had Battlefield 1 last year and Sony has Battlefront 2 this year.
Well,
but either.
No, I don't know. I'm willing to bet money that Battlefront 2 will be showcased on Scorpio in some way, like this year.
So Steve Chamberlain asked us, do you think Sony would ever pay for parity? Here's the thing. I'm not sure money's exchange, but I guarantee you the big fight going behind the scenes right now is Sony trying to get their developers to develop first on PlayStation, and Microsoft is trying to get their developers to develop first on Scorpio. Parity. I mean, like we meant, like, so DX12 is baked into the chip or whatever the hell it is, but games are only going to take advantage of that if they're dev for it, and if devs are deving for PS4 first, they may not utilize the extra performance of Scorpio. So that's where a problem could arise with that. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I have raised these questions on my own podcast, and and I wrote an article recently, like 5 things Microsoft need to do to kill Scorpio and stuff, as in totally kill it. But that is a concern, and I've talked to people at Microsoft about this whole concern, and their response is, we've had third-party developers in. It's not just been the Coalition and Turn 10 that have ported their games to Scorpio in 2 days or 1 day or less than a day even. It's loads of companies have done it. Third-party companies have been able to bring their games from the Xbox One version over to Scorpio in a very, very, very short amount of time and get it to 4K in a very, very short space of time. So I think there is a valid concern about underhanded tactics, shall we say, that Sony could deploy, such as marketing deals, and developers simply just not bothering to use Scorpio's extra GPU power because they can't be bothered, because they've got their game to the PS4 Pro level and they just shove it over to Scorpio, and that's it. That's what we get, is a lazy port, basically. And that is a genuine worry, of this. There is a concern that the only games that are really going to use Scorpio to its full potential are going to either be games Microsoft has a deal with, like Shadow of War, or first-party games. I think that is a legitimate concern. And
that is definitely worrying.
Yeah, and developers as well. They would rather their games have visual parity across both systems for the sake of consistency, So I think that is a huge problem that Microsoft needs to address at E3 as well. And that's why I think they're going to show Red Dead Redemption 2 and Battlefront. And
they won't. That'll be a breach of contract. I'll bet you right now. I will bet you right now. Red Dead Redemption 2 and Star Wars Battlefront 2, Microsoft will not talk about them. It might be in a montage at E3 or something.
That's what I mean.
It won't be mentioned, and they definitely won't be running advertisements, because the advertisements on TV and YouTube and all that stuff will all be talked. Like, it'll be.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about all my leak says.
Yeah, but they're not. These
games showcase 4K.
Right, but they're not going to be able to, like. They might be in a. We'll have to wait to E3, but the idea is, like, okay, so because I was in a conversation on Twitter about this, and about the idea that, is Microsoft even trying to get marketing deals? And I always say, of course they are. You don't think Microsoft would want to partner with Star Wars Battlefront 2 and advertise that game and then talk about Scorpio, or even Destiny 2? You're talking these games that have this large visibility among gamers, and I
don't think Microsoft are trying, man.
I think they are.
Because you realize they've got $100 billion in cash.
Marketing
deal like that would be like 0.000%.
Phil does not have that type of headroom, because if they did, they had $100 billion.
If Phil thought it was really necessary, he would go to Satya and say, "Look, Satya, open the checkbook. I need these marketing deals stat."
Yeah, well, the last time that happened, there was like, I need $60 million for a Japanese RPG, and what happened? The Japanese RPG didn't come out, and they lost $60 million on it, or whatever the number was. I also need 50 million. Well, whatever the number. I also need 50 million for a 4v1 Fable game. I need that too. Oh wait, gone, canceled. I also want to do either way. Marketing deals are important, because Sony, they're going to blast them everywhere. And look, if you don't think they're important, why is Microsoft marketing with Shadow of War?
Well, I didn't say they weren't important, but I said maybe
they're trying, because if they didn't really care, they wouldn't market with anybody. But they're marketing with the ones they can get it with. Sony's like, you know what? They're full. They're sitting at the dinner table and they're like, "We just ate, son. We have the 4 biggest games of the holiday. we're trying to cock block Microsoft because we're not going to allow them to advertise Scorpio with any of those four. The rumors are Gran Turismo Sport will be out. The rumor is God of War will be out this year. So we're going to actually try to put out really cool games against Microsoft Scorpio. And all Microsoft is you're telling me is that they're going to advertise Shadow of War and Scorpio when Shadow of War comes out in August. Fucking Scorpio doesn't come out for another 2 months after that. So I think that's a waste of a marketing deal. They probably shouldn't have done it in the first place. But the thing is, there's budgets, there's ad money, there's money in the budget to advertise. So they still have to advertise. So Assassin's Creed Empire, if it's already not with Sony, Microsoft will probably snatch that right up. The new Splinter Cell, if that's right there with Sony, Microsoft will snatch that right up. And whatever other game...
Wait, is it a Splinter Cell?
What?
There's a new Splinter Cell, or have we just made that up?
Yeah, there's I know there's a new Splinter Cell, Jazz.
Oh,
I've known for the past year.
Well, why didn't you tell me so I could leak it?
You're not leaking shit. You will not leak that.
You just announced it live on a podcast.
This isn't the first time I've said that though. Splinter Cell is real, okay? It's coming. Don't you worry about it.
What is it called?
I have no idea what it's called, but Michael Ironside's back and he's voicing Sam Fisher.
Oh, snap. Okay.
So here's the thing. I honestly think, and I could be wrong because I'm wrong quite often, is that Microsoft would love to market with those 4 big games, but those 4 big games would rather market would rather advertise with the market leader. And because like you go to like Destiny, like we would love, Microsoft's like we would love to advertise with you. And Activision's like, yeah, but 60 million to 30 million, and whatever money you pay us, Sony would pay us. So it's in our benefit to align with the market leader. And that's basically what happens. That's how they get. Like I remember last year when people were theorizing with the big games this year, and they were like, "Well, Sony can't have all 4 of them. They can't. They can't have all 4." And what happened? They have all 4 because
hey man, we got Voodoo Vince.
And we do have Voodoo
4K.
Vince. We do. So
we don't need that one. We don't need Red Dead 2. We got Voodoo Vince. Case closed.
Case closed. I think marketing deals are important. If they weren't important, none of these companies would do them. Right?
Yeah, of course they're important. They are important. It's a case of perception, and that's why I say Microsoft needs to bring the games, because it is all about perception. I might be happy with the lineup, but it's about creating perception that Microsoft has these games, and not only has these games, but they're better on Scorpio. And Microsoft has to create that perception. And you are right, they do need to splash that cash and open that checkbook. I think so.
Yeah, but I think
Especially
Sony
if they're not making if they're not spending it on their own games, or they're wasting it on second party studios who blow all the money on other projects, then it's
well, maybe Microsoft will have a huge marketing campaign for State of Decay 2 and make you happy.
Well, I'm under no delusion that State of Decay 2 can hold up to Battlefront and Red Dead Redemption 2, but I do think that there needs to be something there. And Microsoft have, they've generally been, they haven't had bad marketing deals. I think Rise of the Tomb Raider was pretty controversial, but I thought that was a pretty good deal for that year. It certainly gave Microsoft they had all the posters of the different games, and they gave Microsoft a strong lineup. That was the year that everyone was saying PlayStation 4 was sparse and stuff like that. Well, at least the community was. The media certainly weren't reporting that. But that's neither here nor there. They do need to bring the games. I think everyone agrees on all sides of the fence. If you're against Xbox, if you're for Xbox or whatever, they've got the specs down. They need to bring the games now, because first party only in 4K isn't good enough. So I'm just kind of wondering what kind of games would you like to see Microsoft do? Would you like to see them do, and people in the chat can get involved with this as well. Do you want to see Microsoft announce new first party games, new IP? Do you want to see, maybe Halo in different genres, kind of like Halo was, but maybe, they were working on a Halo MMO at one point, like a Destiny clone that's set in the Halo universe, something like that. I mean, what kind of games do people want nowadays? I don't know. I mean, I would not want to be in Phil's position right now when it comes to games, because I I honestly don't have a clue. You see like some games that you expect won't do well, doing really good. Like for example, I mean, this isn't the best example, but Astroneer, for example, came out in December. No marketing, no marketing whatsoever. That my article, How to Play Astroneer, was one of my best articles in December. So many people were searching for that article, and that just came out of nowhere. And yeah, it's in early access and it's building up and stuff like that. But sometimes, like, games come out of nowhere and they surprise you. And people, I mean, I'm just going to read out some of the things people said in chat now. So, Lost Odyssey 2, Fable, please, Knights of the Old Republic. I keep hearing that a lot. Jez, they need diversity, no Halo, diverse genres. I agree.
Rise 2, I see Stephen Chamberlain says Rise 2, which
God,
I would love.
Can you imagine if they made a Rise 2 that was
well, here's the
like
thing. Can you imagine like, look, and some of this is on the consumers for not buying it, some of it's on Microsoft, but can you imagine if their games actually hit their targets, so we could actually get a Rise 2 and a Sunset Overdrive 2 and a Record 2 and a Quantum Break 2, right? Yeah. The reason we're not getting any of those games is because they didn't hit their whatever target was set for them to get sequels. And I would love Rise 2 out of, like, if you just pick 2 games to get a sequel for, it's Sunset Overdrive 2 and Rise 2, because I think Rise 2 has the most potential to improve upon itself, right? And it's in a genre that not a lot of games come out in that type of genre. And Sunset Overdrive 2 was just criminally, like, the fact that that game doesn't have a sequel and the fact that NAC 2 exists is fucking embarrassing.
It is like, shocking.
I can't. I don't want, like, we're living in the darkest timeline. Like, seriously.
It is really weird. Like, whenever Microsoft makes a second party deal, I feel like it's always parting on bad terms, It's like Crytek with Rise don't seem to want to work with Microsoft anymore. And you've got Insomniac not, saying they'd love to make a Sunset Overdrive 2, but Microsoft won't fund it. You got Remedy, announcing they're making PlayStation games now, and it's like Microsoft. It seems like Microsoft alienates second parties every time they make a game, and it's really, really annoying because you can't get invested in these franchises. Like Quantum Break had a really, really great story with a really annoying cliffhanger ending. I'm not going to spoil it if anyone's not seen it, but it's like, God, I want to see more of this franchise, and it's like Alan Wake as well. I want to see more of that. You would have saw
more of it if it sold better. Like, look, if
we're never going to get that game, we're never going to get Alan Wake 2.
I understand that, but if Quantum Break hit out of the park like Horizon Zero Dawn did, where Horizon Zero Dawn did like 2.7 million in 2 weeks, if Quantum Break did 2.7 million in 2 weeks, you would already hear about Quantum Break 2. It probably would be announced this year's E3. Like, it would.
They need to stop making linear games. They keep making these linear games that. I don't think you can make just straight linear games anymore. I mean, what games are completely linear that sell really well?
I mean, isn't Uncharted like the poster boy for kind of a linear, like, movie experience?
Yeah, but that's Uncharted. It's the 4th game in an established brand.
Okay, I mean, yeah, okay. There's not a lot of
a new IP.
Wasn't Doom very linear? I mean, it was level based and the levels were bigger, but I mean, it was still
wide linear. But again, Doom's an established brand.
I mean, what about Rise of the Tomb Raider? I mean, that
Tomb Raider, it's Lara Croft. You sell that game.
I know, but I mean, that game is like fake open world.
It's wide linear. They call it wide linear.
They call it wide linear. Oh baby, you ready for this wide linear? I got the girth for you. Oh yeah.
I want some wide linear in my life, Microsoft. Stop giving me this narrow linear. Quantum Break was narrow linear, super narrow, and Gears of War was super narrow linear as well. We need wide linear.
That's the thing.
It feels like there's more to do.
And you bring up a good thing. It's like people, like, Microsoft needs to bring games, but then they never say what type of games they want them to bring. Like, everybody's like, yeah, Halo, Gears, Forza, they're played out. Keep on making them because they make you money. But if you were going to make a new IP, what would it be? And, like, people always, even among my friends, when you ask that question, it's just like they all just kind of sit there and they're just like, oh.
Yeah. Rise is linear as well. I mean, Sunset Overdrive was open world, so you would have thought Sunset Overdrive would be the one. And I kind of feel like out of all those new games, Sunset Overdrive probably was the most popular, maybe. I don't know what the sales were like. But I feel like Sunset Overdrive was like, it was confusing, for people who were looking at it. Like, what the hell is this game? I remember when they announced Sunset Overdrive originally with that teaser trailer. It was like, what the hell is this game? I have no idea what this game is. And then, it was hard to understand. But you see Horizon Zero Dawn, and you know instantly that it's Far Cry with dinosaurs. So it riffs on that familiarity, kind of. I don't think Sunset Overdrive was familiar enough to sell itself. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just sort of spouting garbage right now. But the point is, it was an amazing game, and it deserves a bloody sequel.
Mhm.
I feel like Recore would have resonated better had it been bigger budget with a bigger studio. If Insomniac had made Recore, I feel like it might have been in a better position, because you look at Recore and you instantly think, oh, okay, that's post-apocalypse. Know what that's like. Fighting robots, know what that's like, and stuff like that. Imagine if Recore had Guerrilla Games working on it with the same budget Horizon Zero Dawn. It would have done the same amount of sales.
Yeah, but I had heard Recore was made in like 18 months, and it was kind of
Yeah, it was rush job. It was basically a
right.
big budget indie.
So, I mean, like, look, games are important. We all know this. This is the year. Phil's been in the job for 3 years, so hopefully there's some surprises. I'm just not sure what they are. But um, I wanted to talk about N4G for a minute
Okay.
because I made a video about it yesterday. And I know you tweeted about it because you mentioned how people were loving that tweet, right?
I got 500 likes on that tweet. It's like my
And
most successful tweet this year, I think, so far.
and my whole thing was a lot of Xbox fans out there feel there's this biasness against the system or this undue hatred against Xbox that's not there against PlayStation and not against Nintendo. And my video basically was like, this image is why people believe it, because they see this stuff. And go to N4G, which is a aggregate website that basically collects articles and people upvote them. Isn't it kind of similar to Reddit? I
Well,
guess.
people don't upvote them; they click on them. So the articles that get the
Oh, they
most
click.
clicks end up on the top. And the thing is, it's unfair to M4G, honestly, because both Xbox fans and PlayStation fans are clicking on those articles. PlayStation fans are clicking on them to get outraged, and I mean, Xbox fans are clicking on them for the outrage bait, and Sony fans are clicking on them for the purchase validation. So it's kind of unfair on M4G. It's kind of not their fault, as far as we know, that people clicking on those articles. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, but the thing is that and the M4G admin was posting on his Twitter like he's tried to delete loads of the articles that were really bad quality about Scorpio, but there were just so many of them, so many clickbait articles
There
about
were,
it that they
and
couldn't
there
put
were
them all.
900 degrees. The one where it was like PlayStation 4, still the Scorpio Slayer, and the image of the PlayStation 4 is a tank. Look, and I
It's
get it.
like ridiculous, man.
It's opinion pieces. People like reading them, and it's the combination of how like Angry Joe at the beginning of the gen and Boogie, they gained a lot of popularity because they attacked Xbox for
They
its
jumped on the
policies.
bandwagon.
They jump on the bandwagon, and look, like people see, like it's like monkey see, monkey do. You go to N4G, and there's a lot of places out there that try to get all the extra hits they can and extra visibility. And look, they go to the front page, and what do you see? Just a hate article against Scorpio, against Microsoft, against an executive, blah 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 blah. So what is that? If you're sitting there and you're a middling website and you're like, I want to get noticed too, it's like, well, it seems like people want to click on these articles disparaging Scorpio, so I'm gonna write an opinion piece disparaging Scorpio and then submit it, and maybe you know what I'm saying?
Disparaging.
Disparaging, it's
That's a
another
good
word.
word.
Yeah.
That's a good word. Oh my God, you're like a dictionary.
I mean,
Disparaging.
for grammar school and high school, I was in honors English. So, I mean, there are words I'll bust out from here
You
and
went
there,
to grammar school?
Yeah, dude.
I didn't know they had grammar schools in America.
I went to a Catholic grammar school and a Catholic high school, so I got the finest education money could
Did you
buy.
wear a uniform?
Yes, I did. I wore a
Oh my
uniform
God, Randy's posh.
I
Rand
wore a
out posh.
uniform in grammar school and I wore a uniform in high school as well. Yes, I did.
Oh my God, Randall Posh. That's what I'm going to call you from now on. Okay.
Randall Posh.
Yeah. Like posh
But
person.
but no, I mean, there's some words out there that I know. I mean, stick with me, Jez. You'll learn some stuff, and I'll learn some
Cool.
stuff from you. It's a mutual kind of thing.
You ain't gonna learn much from me, man. I got terrible English, so
I'll learn what drinks are good. That's what I'll learn.
yeah, you'll learn that.
Hmm.
I'm good at drinks.
So, I
I
mean,
continue.
do you think that there's anything like? Do you think I'm kind of right in that sense? Like people see that hatred gets you clicks, so more people write about it, so it's more visible.
I think
Um,
a lot of the smaller blogs do this, and I'm sure Forbes does this. I'm sure Forbes are one of these websites where they give you the title first, and then you write the article after you've received the title because the title is designed for SEO reasons. So search engine optimization is a big thing in blogging, and that week hatred for Scorpio would have been doing amazingly well on search engine optimization. So Forbes probably gave people titles like hate on Scorpio using this title. Like in school where you get an English essay and the teacher just gives you the title and you have to go out and research it and make an argument for or against.
mhm.
It's just like that. And Forbes does that, and they get the SEO, they get the clicks, they get the ad revenue. It's all good. By the way, I don't know for a fact if Forbes does that, but I definitely feel like it's a possibility. Let's put it that way before they send their lawyers after me.
Forbes is terrible because didn't they do an article was like Xbox One is done, and then they were like, is PS4 done now? Or they just throwing
Yeah,
shit up at a wall to see whatever
what
hits.
sticks. Yeah, it's awful, man.
Yeah.
And that's SEO. That's an SEO play, and it's clickbait at the same time. And it's sad because the um, ad revenue is going down all the time, and these websites are getting more and more desperate to do this. And I'm kind of lucky I work for Windows Central, where ad revenue is such a small amount of our income because we sell phone accessories. And we sell other things like courses and stuff. We we're a merchant. So like I don't have to worry about the clicks as much as some other websites do, where some bloggers they get paid per click, and that's got to be such a stressful lifestyle. And when you are paid per click, you are looking to clickbait basically, and that that compounds the issue. So I think there's loads of things feeding into this perception that there is a media bias right now, and I don't think it's all intended. I don't think Polygon sits around a table and thinks, how can we hate on Microsoft this week? But I do think that none of them are invested in the Microsoft ecosystem personally. I think they're all using Apple Mac and iPhone products, and they're not interested in Microsoft ecosystem at all. They probably don't have Xboxes at home. So like that can manifest in their writing in a subtle way. And when you've got all these little things mixing together, they coalesce and make this sort of negativity black hole, I guess you could call it. And that is what we see as Xbox fans sometimes is the culmination of all these little things that add up to make this narrative. But I don't think it's all completely intentional. I just think it's just the way things go. It's like if Xbox goes back on top, the clickbait will be Sony sucks. And like uh back in the day, I mean, back when the internet was young, it was like PS3 totally screwed up, and then everyone was saying the Xbox 360 was great, and there was all those comics of PS3 no games. I mean,
Oh yeah,
search for it
I
and get
remember that.
them.
Yeah, that was actually when NeoGAF was a forum you could actually go to and have a reasonable discussion, and then it became completely ridiculous right around when Connect came out, and then it just,
Yeah,
I mean, they call it Sony Gaff for good reason now.
yeah.
It's gotten out of control.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's weird because it's like these grown ass men can't have a reasonable discussion about the hobby. It is a hobby. It's not a fight to the death with a
Yeah,
stick.
and especially when like you say you're an Xbox gamer like me, like, hey, I like playing an Xbox, and they're like, you fool, you can get all the games on PC. It's like, I don't want to play on PC. I'm fine with the Xbox. Yeah, but doesn't that bother you? Your exclusives aren't on. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna play on what I like. Like, it's like, well, you're just crying and you hurt your. I'm like, my feelings aren't hurt. Like, look, I would, in a perfect world, all the game systems do extremely well. and the games themselves sell great, so developers can make more money, so they can make more games, so I can have more games to play, right? That is like the kind of the great scenario you can think of. Like, I don't care that somebody else can play Gears of War 4 on their PC at better settings than I can. It doesn't bother me. I don't think about it, you know?
I don't think about it either. I've got
Like,
a gaming PC now, and I still prefer playing on Xbox. You know, it's I play PC has some really cool exclusives that you need a mouse and keyboard for, like management games that I like Stellaris. But even they're coming to Xbox now. Like City Skylines is coming to Xbox. Um,
mhm.
you know, and if Scorpio gets mouse and keyboard support for certain games, then who knows? The floodgates could truly open. We could get just tons of PC games coming to the console. But you know, it is funny the way the console war thing is just ridiculous. You know, it's like
Yeah. Yeah, they're just
I mean,
expensive
I used to
toys.
see like on the podcast Mooch and Crap used to do. Like half of their viewers would be PlayStation fans who were there to sit there being angry. I don't get that. Why do people do that?
Mhm. I don't
I
know.
don't
I don't
get
know. You know
I
what?
would never go and watch an Apple podcast because I'm not interested in Apple. Because I'm not interested in Xbox. Why are they there listening to a podcast about Xbox? I don't get it.
That's right. That's right. um, yeah, if anybody has any questions, just pop them in chat. We got a few minutes before we end the show, but I figure if you have any questions, we'll answer them. But yeah, it's been an eventful week. I did see Phil had a Q&A in a, was it Game Sutra article
Yeah, I
or
need to
something
read
like
that.
that.
I thought it was a really good interview, actually.
I have not read it yet. I've been kind of busy all day.
You should read
I
it. It's a good article. Fair
Is it
play to Game
any
Sutra.
interesting any interesting info in there?
It's all about like the way Phil sees things. You know, why Microsoft are bothering so much with consoles. Why don't they just focus on PC? Where Microsoft sees VR and going. You know, there's just tons of cool information about the way Phil sees things. You know, and it's just another piece about Phil is, you know, people. I've seen people bash Phil for Fable Legends and Scalebound and stuff, but the guy's got a plan, you know, and he's only just started to get that plan into motion. One of the problems with Microsoft is they're such a huge company with so many things to worry about that it slows them down sometimes. So, like for example, Scorpio can't launch until Windows 10 Redstone 3 comes out later this year. So everything's got to align now. Windows has got to align with Scorpio and stuff like that. And
Right.
thing it's because Microsoft's whole ecosystem is this huge, cumbersome beast. You know.
hmm You see some of these questions we got here. The one right for you, I see. Well, Carbano Loco, Carbon Loco says, "Will the Scorpio have a 4K Blu-ray player?" Yes,
Yes.
it has a Ultra HD Blu-ray player as well. What else we got here? There was one that I thought was good because we had talked about beforehand. Damn, where was the question?
Will Scorpio be shown at the hardware event on May
Yeah, there you
2nd?
go.
Which would be good. And no, it won't. The hardware event on May 2nd is to announce a new low-priced Surface device, which is going to be aimed at schools, and to announce something called Windows 10 Cloud Edition, which is basically Windows 10, but with only the Windows 10 store, so no Win32 apps
Scorpio
for
price.
schools.
A LMAO says Scorpio price $399 or $499.
And you know, I used to say 399, but now I've seen what it looks like inside. I'm thinking 499 is probably more realistic.
I'm thinking
But
500 as well. I think if
I would love 399. I think 399 they'd slay if it was 399. But I
yeah,
think it might just be too expensive for
Kenny
Microsoft.
3000 says, "Who do you think will have the better games this year? Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation?" Well, if you're better games
Don't
defined by
say.
Metacritic, probably Nintendo because Mario will probably be just as high rated as Zelda. Um,
Snore.
I mean, we're talking PlayStation first party games because if then it's just Horizon Zero Dawn, Gran Turismo, and God of War, maybe. I mean, I don't know. We don't even know what games are coming out. So
We need E3 before
yeah,
we can answer that
that'd
question.
be a better answer after
Yeah.
we get to E3. Um, let's see what else we got here.
Will you guys be upset if Microsoft doesn't announce a new big budget game for this year? Um, Not really, because they've got Crackdown, they've got State of Decay 2, um, Sea of Thieves. I don't think it's going to launch this year,
You don't
personally.
think it's going to make this year?
No, I don't think so.
Because I was thinking that State of Decay will
Early
come out
access, maybe.
like August, and Crackdown will launch with the console. Do you think Forza is launching with the console, or does Forza
Oh,
launch in
Forza, Forza,
or
Forza
does
7 is definitely this year, definitely.
well, yeah, but is it launching in September like it always does, or are they holding off for release with Scorpio?
I don't know, but it's going to be this year for definite.
Because I mean, it's still on Xbox One S and regular Xbox One, so I don't know. I still think well, maybe it's for the better if Sea of Thieves doesn't come out this year and they can launch it next year or whatever. But okay, so if they, what was the question was more if they don't announce something for this year, or was it just announce something at E3 for years down the road?
Well,
Because
if they don't announce their future projects this year, if they focus only on Crackdown, Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, games that we already know about, I think that's a huge mistake, and I will be concerned about what they've got on the horizon if they don't announce future projects at E3. So yeah, I will not be happy if they don't announce anything new at E3.
will there ever be another Fable? I think there will be. I think Fable 4 is probably going to happen. They had the opportunity to sell the IP, but they kept it.
I think they'll reboot Fable. I don't think they'll do a Fable 4.
What else we got here? Why do Microsoft? Why the fuck do Xbox fanboys don't ask for more games? Well, I mean, I want more games. I've told Phil that. I've told the team that. It's just.
I don't want more games. I have too many games. Stop releasing
you're
games.
talking about that for your job. Of course, I would love there to be plenty of games to play. And I mean, it's just Microsoft doesn't maybe have the studios to support it. I don't know. But I have said that a lot to some of the upper management people at Xbox that you need more games.
They do need more games. No one can say that games aren't, an issue right now. But we need to find out from E3 to be like, can't be too critical until after E3. If E3 comes and goes and they don't announce anything cool, then GG.
Dinero Primero, and this will probably be the last one we answer before we get out of here because I got to get going to school and Jez got to get going to bed. Should Microsoft show games only coming out in 2018 at E3?
Well, they've got to show stuff like more stuff like State of Decay, to what the gameplay will actually be like, because we don't know yet. It could have like really cool mechanics, like Fallout 4 style base building mechanics. We don't know what kind of stuff it's going to have. And also, we need to find out a bit more about Crackdown 3, what's going to be new in that game and stuff like that. So I do think they can't dedicate the whole thing to future games as well, because that's risky. Because as we saw from Scalebound, announcing games early can have consequences. So I just think there needs to be a mix. There needs to be. I think the format they've used in previous years has been really good. Like you have a dev demo for games that we know are coming. You have a few CGI or teaser trailers for games that are on the way. You have an idea Xbox showcase presented by the awesome Chris Charla. And maybe you have a little segment about future features that with Mike Ibarra that are like as big as backwards compatibility, because you never know, there might be some more killer features they're going to announce, like
and more killer controllers too. I think Microsoft needs to look at what Sony's doing, because part of the reason why a lot of the PlayStation fans are content is because they know a lot of the releases up to 2019. A lot of ways Xbox fans want to feel that same contentment, but for whatever reason,
to wait for.
Yeah, for whatever reason, like if people just want a game to hold on to and be like, listen, even if State of Decay 2 is bad and Crackdown 3 is bad and whatever, at least I have this to look forward to and wrap my arms around and be like,
Age of Empires 4.
this game. So
Yeah.
I think, look, if here's what I'll say: if Microsoft comes out and they give trailers for all the games we already know about this year, and you have the third party games that are coming out this year, and like Splinter Cell and Assassin's Creed, what have you, I'm sure some will be on stage. But if like the only and I'm sure Ori 2 will probably be there, but like if the only actually like new kind of thing we get is Halo 6, I'll be the first to say that is you dropped the ball on this one, Microsoft.
Huge trouble.
What they need to do is they need to focus on 2018 because this year's kind of a wash.
For 2018.
Yeah, they need to focus on 2018, what games are coming out, and then tease 2019. Like, I understand they have this trepidation because Scalebound bombed or Scalebound was canceled and Fable. Like, I understand that. But your competition is doing something different. And we talked how competition drives each other. Like, Microsoft just has the refund policy, which now is going to place onus on Nintendo and Sony to implement that. So you kind of, and I understand, like, maybe they don't have the studios to do that, but I think they need to talk about 2018. I think they need to talk about games in the future so Xbox fans have a game to point to and be like, no matter if this game sucks or this game sucks, there's still this game a year from now or 2 years from now that I can be like, that's my game. That's the game that I'm holding out for. Just on the same way as PlayStation, where they say, Death Stranding, that's the game, or Last of Us 2, that's the game. But anyways, I just wanted to say thanks for hanging out with us, guys. I love doing the show. Love talking with Jez, my UK brother. If you want to follow Jez on Twitter, his description, his Twitter link is in the description of the video. Jez, what do you got going on the rest of the week, man?
The rest of the week, I'm going to be working very hard to hit my deadlines. I'm writing a bunch of articles about PC gaming right now, not even about Xbox. So no one will care about that. Other than that, I am going to be playing lots of Stellaris by Paradox, who makes Cities Skylines, because it is amazing. Stellaris is the best game ever made. Well, for right now, you can build a big, huge fleet of spaceships and fly them and blow things up. It's really fun.
Well, make sure you follow Jez on Twitter. He has a very active Twitter. And as for me, I'll be dropping some indie spotlights. I'll have a video up for Sexy Brutal and Ukulele and a lot of games. And I'm also thinking about doing an epic giveaway, another one of those epic giveaways soon. And I'll have more of the rants coming. I'll have one tomorrow. And I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, but I'm sure I'll find something to talk about. So thanks, guys, for hanging out with me and Jez on the Xbox 2. We will see you next week, same time, same day. And with that, we're out of here.